one of the last things we do in this course is talking about Brene Brown's braving exercise. If you guys aren't a Brene Brown aficionado and stalker obsessed like I am, I hope you become by the end. Brene Brown is that just incredible guru of our times, and she's doing some incredible work to understand vulnerability, boundaries, and her work around trust is what I particularly think that the profession of midwifery needs to study. So she has this braving acronym, and each of the letters in the word braving is an acronym for the anatomy of trust. And the one that I like to start with is actually the G, which is generosity. And that is the idea that we are going to give everyone the most generous assumption of our opinions. And so from that place, think about this chart. Probably those midwives did ask her about her history. Probably they went into long depth of her VBAC and the experience she had with her first birth and what she'd like it to be different. Wouldn't you imagine that they investigated all of that? So here's the big bell ring that I want to have before we go into it, is about what charting says or does on the back end of the incident or the experience. Just like all of you might have even felt a little judgy when you read this chart, thinking, wait a second, this midwife didn't know, this midwife didn't do. That's what the legal world does to all of us when we don't chart appropriately. And as you guys probably remember that old adage, if you didn't write it down, it didn't happen, right? So even though these midwives, with our generous assumption of who they are and that they're skilled and they know what they're doing, if they didn't write it down, it didn't happen. And so hopefully this chart is that clear bellwether for why really dialing in this skill is so important for you. Because after the fact, even with the generous assumption, we actually cannot say that they did that skill. And without being able to do that medical history evaluation and that risk assessment and that clear prenatal charting and all the things that midwifery asks for providers to do, without writing it down, there's no way to say that they did it. And then that makes you liable for the potential outcome. Now, in this case, the outcome was a transfer of care at 39 and some weeks, which ended up still resulting in a vaginal birth after cesarean, which is lovely, which is partly why nobody probably circled back and finished the chart, because they transferred and everything was fine. But without circling back, without being thorough, we run the risk of never being able to actually defend ourselves. So hopefully this chart is that bellwether that rings that bell for you.